Hey folks, this is HB and welcome to HB's World. And today is going to be a long topic. First of all, you're probably wondering where I've been since the last video, which was my journey to the Grove, and why I haven't made a video in a while. Life. Anywho, like I said, this video is going to be a bit of a long one because it's kind of a topic that I've kind of hold personally. Pretty much it's my life with film. Now before we can really get to that, let me start off at the very beginning of when I was a kid. It all started with me when I was around 14 years old. I believe I was I was in middle school at the time. I kind of was in that phase of my life when I really had no idea what I wanted to do with myself. You know, when I grow up, you know, everyone, when they're kids, they're like, oh, I want to be an astronaut when I grow up. That was never me. I was usually more creative with that sort of thing. Like, when I was, like, in kindergarten up to the 4th grade, I said, I want to be a wrestler for the WWF. This was before they changed the name after they lost the lawsuit to the Panda Bear. But that's, yeah, I mean, but other than that, I just really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was kind of in a bad way, like, up here. Just, I didn't know who I was. I really didn't have much of an identity. That all changed one night when, like I said, I was 14 years old. And this was back when Encore used to be like on basic cable. And every month they always have that director's or actor's spotlight that would showcase that person's more famous movies for an entire month. And this month was, this particular month was George A. Romero. Now, you gotta understand something. When I was 14 years old, I really didn't know who George Romero was. I didn't know anything about zombie movies or zombies in general. My only knowledge of zombies came from two different things. The Thriller music video, which, well, who didn't see that? And, what was the other one? Oh yeah, back when my brother had a PlayStation 1, he used to rent Resident Evil 2. Which is right up there on one of my favorite video games of all time. You know, needs a remake. And so that's really my only knowledge of zombies. Well, they were showcasing not just all of his zombie movies. They showcased Night of the Living Dead, the remake of Night of the Living Dead, the Tom Savini cut, which was really good. Monkey Shines. There was two more. Monkey Shines, something called The Dark Half, which I haven't seen, and Day of the Dead. This is the movie that really changed everything for me. I remember that came on at like 2 in the morning. I was not supposed to be awake at that point because I had school the next day. And I was just flipping through channels because I couldn't sleep. And Day of the Dead was on. Now, I'd already missed like half of the beginning of this movie, so I really didn't know what was going on. On top of that, I wouldn't have known what was going on anyway because I had to keep the volume down because everyone else in the house was asleep. It gets to the gore scenes. Now, you know what I'm talking about if you've seen the movie. When the zombies get into the underground cave and then the soldiers just get it. The very first thing that I see is Private Torres. Yes, I'm that much of a fan of the movie that I know who these characters are. Played by Tasos Stavrakis. I'm sure I'll spell it out towards the bottom. When they were grabbing him from the inside of his eyeballs, ripping his head out, and then there's just freaking, his vocal cords are stretching out and he's screaming. This was me the whole time. I didn't say a word throughout any of these scenes. Even when Rickles, who I swear to God for the longest time was John Belushi, gets this part of his face ripped off and his fingers get chewed off. And again, jaw dropped. But the money shot was Joe Pilato as Rhodes. That famous gore scene with zombie movies when he's ripped from his torso and his legs come apart and his intestines just spill out. And then he just screams, "Chow, God!" right before he kicks it. I'm watching this, and my reaction was just like, after I was pretty much stunned, shocked, flabbergasted, whatever you want to call it, I couldn't say a word except, "This is fucking awesome." And then like after 2 weeks, this movie, the images was just stuck in the back of my head, and it really pained me because it didn't come back on after that. And it was still stuck in my head, and I was just, I just couldn't believe what I saw. And then that kind of made me start thinking, I want to do this. I want to make something like this, because I was already a creative kid. And I wanted to do stuff that was creative. And I thought, dude, this would be amazing. And so I started thinking about it. And then I was just like, you know what? If I'm going to make a movie, I'm going to know how actors need to act. So I took up a theater arts class in the 8th grade. And that's when things really started to, when the pieces started coming together to fit the whole puzzle. That I was just really starting to fall in love with it. And it's funny because the first acting thing I've done in front of an audience was the 8th grade Groves Middle School production of The Wizard of Oz. And you know what? I want you guys to take a guess as to who I was in that show. Don't worry, I'll wait. There's no watch here. Yeah, it's the lion. Okay, yeah. I was the Cowardly Lion, and then I just got a standing ovation. And now, granted, I was still green at that point. I mean, hell, all I did was really just copy the movie for the most part, and that's actually one of my big regrets. But then again, I was still a kid. Was I didn't take that role and just kind of make it my own. But anywho, that made me fall in love with acting. That ever since then, all throughout my school years, I always took a theater arts class. It got better when I got to high school, because at around that point, that's when I met Bobby Burnside. You remember from Disability TV. He's been in a few videos. I'll put a link in the description. And okay, last time I tried filming this, it's around this point where I got interrupted and I wasn't able to film for a while. But anyway, yeah, I met Bobby, and then we started talking about the idea of making a zombie movie, and I actually had a full-blown finished script. It was the biggest piece of shit I have ever written. This would make Uwe Boll look like John Carpenter. I am not kidding. It was just, oh God, like I said, we were still kids for the most part. And well, after Bobby had graduated, Bobby was a grade higher than I was. So when he was graduated, I was kind of by myself. And then my senior year, that's when I met Reed Falcon. Yes, that is his real name. And the reason why I bring him up is really important. Anyway, we just started doing these skits together, like me, Reed Falcon, and another guy named Chris Gay, and we were just doing these comedy bits, and I was just having the time of my life. Anywho, that brings us, like, after I graduated high school. At this point, I'm working at McDonald's. It's my first job. Don't judge me. And I was, I think Hurricane Rita hit. Yeah, Hurricane Rita hit. And we ended up evacuating to Louisiana. And again, this trust me when I say this is important. And And I get back, I start working for a while, and then all of a sudden, this is back when MySpace was a thing. On MySpace, Reed started posting these pictures of him holding a gun out towards these zombies, and I'm just like, what's this? I was like, oh, I guess Reed's actually just taking pictures, making a movie for himself. And then I come across, like, he posts about a website for this movie. And I saw the trailer, and it turns out it was a movie that was being shot in Southeast Texas called They Hunger. And it was a zombie film, and Reed was actually one of the principal characters in the film. And I saw this, I'm like, where the fuck was I when these auditions were going on? I had no idea about the auditions. And otherwise, I would have went. And it was just, I was kind of kicking myself in the ass for that. Well, a few weeks go by, a few more weeks, and then I go back on the website, and there's an ad like on the side saying, "Wanted, we need zombies for the climax of the movie. If you want to be zombies, just show up at this location and we'll film." I'm like, okay, you know what? Since I couldn't audition for this movie, I couldn't get like a main part, I'm at least going to try and be a zombie. So there I went, and I was I go there, and there's a ton of people. There are a ton of extras for this one, which is funny because it took a while for the makeup to get on, and Chris Dombrosky, who's the director of the film, he was looking, and this is probably one of the grossest things I've ever done. He was like, "Hey, can I get at least 4 zombies for this one scene?" And then I just raised my hand because I was enthusiastic. I wanted to do this, and turns out we're eating a survivor. And I'm probably gonna throw a clip on here for it if I can have a chance to get footage up. It turns out the guy that was supposed to show up with the rubber intestines didn't show up. Like, Chris and the others could not get a hold of this guy. So they went out and got some raw pork chop. And we dipped it into the fake blood, and we were chewing it. I tell you what, it looked disgusting, which was the intention. But I'm surprised. Luckily, none of us swallowed it. I mean, as far as I know. And it was just... But still, I mean, at that point, I didn't care. I was having a lot of fun. I got to be impaled by a chainsaw by the main star, which is another important aspect. The main star of this movie is Isaiah. One of my best friends, and the guy I'm going to be moving in with pretty soon. Well, we get to talking, because this is where we actually first met on that set. And it was funny because while he was chainsawing me, he was carrying a big metal gas can, and every time he chainsaws me, I fall to the ground, that gas can goes boom, just right across my head. Like I said, it's metal. Well, anywho, we met, and then as we kept talking, we found out we've got like a lot more in common than I thought we originally would, and then we eventually became best friends. Well, fast forward to Jesus, when was this now? I would say about 2, possibly 3 years later. Isaiah works at the time worked for Lamar University in Port Arthur with theater construction. Well, he gives me a call and says, "Hey, dude, I'm pretty sure you're going to want to know this, but they're holding auditions for a horror movie here." I'm like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard of Derek Womack. he's from that area, but he's holding an audition for a movie called Soul Searchers, which, as I got there, I found out that Soul Searchers is a sequel to a movie that he did years ago called The Curse of Sarah Jane. And whereas Curse of Sarah Jane was a first-person Blair Witch style type movie, which was made before that shooting style was popular, Soul Searchers was going to be more of a cinematic base. I went to auditions. I was nervous as hell. That's where I met Derek. And it was just really nerve-wracking because this is my first time auditioning for like an actual movie. And it was funny because Isaiah was there, obviously. I was there. So was Reed Falcon. Jeremy Norton, who actually plays Hartman in They Hunger, and Paul Bloyd, who was also in They Hunger, and also a pretty cool dude. And it was just really fun. And then I come to find out that I ended up getting the main role. I was supposed to play a character named Danny, who in the script has mommy issues because she died when he was like really young. Not like Norman Bates type mommy issues. Let's not go there. But yeah, and it was just, I just loved playing that character because he was like the biggest smart ass, and that's like my type of sense of humor. Anywho, what happened when we were filming this? We also filmed a series of web episodes called Genesis, and what those were, they were going to be specifically YouTube-based web series that was going to build up to the actual movie. Those were filmed in first-person camera perspective. We only filmed 2, and on top of that, we also filmed a cut of the opening scene from Soul Searchers. And the purpose of this was to show off to investors that maybe want to give us some money to help finance this movie, because this was going to be a huge cast. We were going to have a lot of people help out with this. Well, lo and behold, we get closer to production, and then Hurricane Ike hits. And it tears up a lot of Sarah Jane Road. And it just screwed everything up. And on top of that, the guy who was supposed to star in it, Eastwood Amazon. Now, Eastwood, if you're watching this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you couldn't be in the movie because you had to go overseas or something. I wasn't really given ridiculously clear reasons as to why you left, but anyway, that's what happened. So we lost our main star, and we lost the road that we were going to be filming on. Needless to say, me and Derek were both bummed, because by this point, Derek is starting to trust me on writing my own stuff for the movie and for the series, because I was one of the most reliable crew members that he had. Well, he asks me, hey, you want to try brainstorming for a new project? I was like, yeah, we could think of something. And then he brings up the idea for a zombie movie. Now, at this point, I was just like, I don't know if I want to do that, because, you know, A, I have already done a zombie movie. Well, I was in a zombie movie for, I guess, a total of 6 seconds, because the scene that I was in got cut. I just really didn't want to do it. Well, then he tells me what the idea is, which I'm not going to go into full detail on this, which I'll explain why later. But pretty much it would be something that would start off as a psychological slasher film with a serial killer that just happened to happen when the zombies start showing up. And I was like, you know what, that's never been done before. I mean, yeah, we could try it. And so we got into full-blown production mode for this. And I was an assistant director. I was a co-writer. I helped write some of the stuff. My other job was also to polish the script in a way. So, because Derek's writing is chicken scratch, to say the least. Well, as we're writing this and we're getting stuff together, I get a call from Derek and he tells me, hey, we may have a problem. I was like, what? The main building we want to shoot in, which is the old Fox 4 Master Control Station that's in Port Arthur, it's closing down because everything is going to go all digital. So we have until the beginning of January to film everything in that building so that we could, because they're going to shut it down. This was November when he told me this. So I was like, well, dude, what are we going to do? I mean, we haven't even cast the movie yet. And then pretty much it turned to cast anyone you know that has any kind of acting experience that will say yes. Well, number one, I'm in the movie too. I played a character named Ozzy, who was like a bit of a religious freak. His character was supposed to have a girlfriend, and he told me that was my only responsibility to finding, like, as far as actresses go, someone to play my girlfriend. And I'm just like, I'm kidding. At first, it was supposed to be a girl that I was actually in theater arts class with. Her name was Priscilla Garcia. And she was really enthusiastic about it. I actually gave her an audition, and no, not that kind of audition. Don't be gross. But no, I gave her an audition. She did great. She pulled it off naturally. When it came time to shoot, I couldn't get a hold of her. And it turned out she was really, really sick. She couldn't get in. She couldn't come in. And then we were all bummed out. But one of our production assistants for the movie brought in his girlfriend at the time, Katie Cowles. And so we just said, hey, can you act? All right, good, come here. And then we filmed the movie. We filmed a lot of stuff there. But by the time December came to a close, we weren't really 100% finished filming. So we were kind of bummed about that because we were in freak out mode. We did way too much of a time crunch with how we filmed these things because we were worried that we were going to be losing the building. Well, as it turns out, that wasn't the case. It turns out they were going to keep the building open for I don't know what reason. I'm sure if you ever run into Derek, he'll tell you. So it's like, great, we can actually film that because Derek has unlimited access to this building. Anyway, so it's about 2 days removed from when we filmed all the zombie scenes. We actually called up some extras to come be zombies in the finale. And then I get a call from Derek and he says, dude, I'm like, what? Master Control is burning to the ground as we speak. I didn't know what to think. Like, I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Because not only did we lose a location that would have been fucking amazing to use in other productions, we had equipment that was still in there. We lost a boom mic. We lost, there was like over $200 worth of prop guns that I bought that were still in that building. And on top of that, Chris Dombrosky lent some of his prop guns there, and they were still in the building, along with some holsters. We lost a prop table. We lost a little miniature monitor. We lost a lot of shit. However, oddly enough, not the footage. Which, that came across as weird. So, we tried filming on what we had left, and it was going fine. Like, there could have been some stuff we could have shot around easy. But, pretty much it all boiled down to Dana Melançon's hectic work schedule. He was also in the movie. And a particular actress who I'm not going to put her on blast here, though I'm sure Derek or anybody else that worked on this wouldn't have a problem putting her on blast. She just wouldn't show up. And the problem with that is, oh yeah, we'll just find another actress. No, we can't, because Master Control is gone. And we just could not get her to come in. I would say, out of the 7 or 8 film shoots that she was supposed to show up for, I think she only showed up to about 3, maybe 4. And it just really sucked because we really need everything. So ultimately, Fractured ended up getting canceled. I don't know if I mentioned that it's called Fractured, but it was called Fractured. And it sucks because our gore effects artist, Jason Hughes, was also cast to be the serial killer. His name was Sid. And we had to keep that guy a secret for whatever reason. Anywho, we pretty much go on a big dry spell with filming. Like, this goes on for years and years and years. Well, recently, I'd say about last year, I was like, you know what, fuck this. I gotta do something. I mean, I've been wanting to do this for years, and I'm not gonna lie down and do anything about and screw it all up. I talked to Derek about possibly buying the rights from Fractured to do what I want with it, and I would take over the whole film. I didn't have to buy shit. He just gave it to me. He said on one condition, which I was going to give him 3. Like, I was going to like give him like 3 perks to let me have the rights. 2 of them are the ones I made up, and one of them was his condition. The 2 that I came up with was, I'm going to give him writing credit because I'm planning on taking the script and just molding it up into my own thing. I was going to rewrite this. I was going to give him writing credit. I was going to give him half of whatever I make, like, financially from the film, if it ever makes that much. And the third condition, which is the one he came up with, is don't use Sid, who's the killer. I'm like, wow, what's going on with Sid? Is like, because I'm writing a serial, and I've already incorporated Sid into one of my stories. And I don't want to have him put in something else, which Sid is a far out crazy dude. Like, he was going to be pretty much our version of Michael Myers, except he wasn't supernatural, he wasn't very big. If you've seen Jason Hughes, who's a gore effects artist, he's not that tall. Like, he's got a pretty small stature, and all he wore was a black beanie and a black hoodie and a plain white Mardi Gras mask. You never see his face. So I'm like, well, damn, that's going to be tough now. So I already came up with my killer. I gave him more of a backstory and all that other stuff. Now, let's take a look at the present. Okay, basically what's going on with the present right now is last year I had shot my first short film, which is titled All For You. Now, the reason why that's kind of grinded to a halt was 2 big factors. 1 was work, and 2 is me finally moving out of my house, and I've been focusing more on that than trying to finish this short. I've already got like a bulk of it cut together, and all I needed was like a couple of pickup shots that I could easily film from this iPhone. And pretty much that was the thing. After that, I want to work on 2 more short films. One of them is right now going through the working title, My Night with Dirty Diana. And yes, I intentionally based that on a Michael Jackson song. That's just the working title until I can come up with something else. This is a short that I want to stay 100% behind the camera because this is going to help me work on my directing and my cinematography, which is something I was kind of lacking when I started doing All For You because it was only me and Derek working on it, and we really needed a third person to be behind the camera for that. So this is to help me work on my directing and my cinematography, among other things, behind the scenes. And I was going to write another short film, which is just going to be one big experimental clusterfuck, not meant to be taken seriously film. This was pretty much going to be an exploitation thing that I would like to call handicap exploitation. Now, what I mean by that is it was going to star myself and Bobby just doing a whole big shootout thing. The reason I'm doing this is to help me out with visual effects and compositing shots and whatnot. I'm probably going to have Derek help me out a little bit on that because I'm a little inexperienced with VFX shots. I'm inexperienced with trying to integrate that, like mold the picture, make it blend very well together. My editing software is I would say it's Microsoft Movie. It's Movie Studio 10. It's kind of like a weird form of Vegas. Anyway, after I finish all those three, that's when I really want to start working on the Fractured remake. And like, I'm in this not as the main character. I really do not want to make myself the main character. In fact, the main character is going to be probably in his early 20s. The way I'm writing it, I've been nursing that script every once in a while, but it's gonna happen. I don't know if I'm still gonna call it Fractured, but for now it is gonna be called Fractured. That's something that I hope to do in the future. Now that I figured out a way to make a movie look good by only filming with iPads. Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but there are a lot of movies being made right now that are being shot on iPads because they come with these apparatuses where it comes with a zooming lens and a microphone and all that other stuff. And I think it would really help me, and it'd be a lot cheaper than shelling out a shit ton of money to buy a big old camera, which is something I'd rather have, but iPads will work just fine. So that's it. Like I said, this is a really long one. This probably might be my longest video to date. So I'm glad you guys took the time to sit down and watch this. I really appreciate you guys watching my videos. If you like more, then be sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to check out my last video, which is my journey to the Grove, which, you know, I'm gonna put a link to that down in the description. Also, don't forget to end the fat hate. I'm still on that shit. As far as the Moving Out Chronicles, there have been some updates with that, but not enough to make a video out of it. I will post another video when there's something bigger to update. So thanks for watching. I love you all, and I hope to see you again real soon.